Welcome to Changelog and Friends, a weekly talk show about Marcus Aurelius. Big thanks to our partners at Fly.io, the home of Changelog.com. Launch your app on Fly in 5 minutes or less. Learn how at Fly.io. Okay, let's talk.
What's up, nerds? I'm here with Kurt Mackey, co-founder and CEO of Fly. You know we love Fly. So, Kurt, I want to talk to you about the magic of the cloud. You have thoughts on this, right?
Right. I think it's valuable to understand the magic behind a cloud because you can build better features for users, basically, if you understand that. You can do a lot of stuff, particularly now that people are doing LLM stuff, but you can do a lot of stuff if you get that and can be creative with it.
So when you say clouds aren't magic because you're building a public cloud for developers and you go on to explain exactly how it works, what does that mean to you?
In some ways, it means these all came from somewhere. Like there was a simpler time before clouds where we'd get a server at Rack Shack and we'd SSH it or Telnet into it even and put files somewhere and run the web servers ourselves to serve them up to users. Clouds are not magic on top of that. They're just more complicated ways of doing those same things in a way that meets the needs of a lot of people instead of just one. One of the things I think that people miss out on, and a lot of this is actually because AWS and GCP have created such big black box abstractions. Like Lambda is really black boxy. You can't like pick apart Lambda and see how it works from the outside. You have to sort of just use what's there. But the reality is like Lambda is not all that complicated. It's just a modern way to launch little VMs and serve some requests from them and let them like kind of pause and resume and free up like physical compute time. The interesting thing about understanding how clouds work is it lets you build kind of features for your users you never would expect it. And our canonical version of this for us is that like when we looked at how we wanted to isolate user code, we decided to just expose this machines concept, which is a much lower level abstraction than Lambda that you could use to build Lambda on top of. And what machines are is just these VMs that are designed to start really fast, or designed to stop and then restart really fast, or designed to suspend sort of like your laptop does when it closes and resume really fast when you tell them to. And what we found is that giving people those primitives actually, there's like new apps being built that couldn't be built before, specifically because we went so low level and made such a minimal abstraction on top of generally like Linux kernel features. A lot of our platform is actually just exposing a nice UX around Linux kernel features, which I think is kind of interesting. But like you still need to understand what they're doing to get the most use out of them.
Very cool. Okay, so experience the magic of Fly and get told the secrets of Fly because that's what they want you to do. They want to share all the secrets behind the magic of the Fly cloud, the cloud for productive developers, the cloud for developers who ship. Learn more and get started for free at Fly.io. Again, Fly.io.
We are back from All Things Open 2024, and it was so much fun. Shout out to everyone who stopped by our booth, said hi, shook hands, or even gave us a hug. There was only one hugger, believe it or not. Hi, Paloma. If you missed the conf, this episode will at least give you an idea of what the hallway track was like. We sat down with our friends Robbie the Wagner and Charles William Carpenter III, who we call Chuck, to record an episode of their Whiskey, Web, and Whatnot podcast. Only at All Things Open, it had to be the Wine, Web, and Whatnot podcast because rules, I guess. But it was a lot of fun regardless. If you haven't heard their show, it's kind of like Changelog and Friends, only R-rated, focused on web dev, and there's 100% more booze per episode. The plan was to do an episode of their show, then an episode of ours, but we ran out of time, so this one recording will have to do. Thankfully, Chuck said we could bleep him, so this might go down as the most bleeped episode in Changelog history. Okay, enough setup, here we go.
Should I fill some air here?
Yes, please.
All right, welcome to Wine, Web, and Whatnot, which is formerly known as Whiskey, Web, and Whatnot, but cannot do whiskey at this conference venue at this time. So we have some wine.
At this time.
Chuck is trying to get it open.
It's very hard. Can you even see me?
Doing a fine job. I can see you a little bit. You maybe should scooch this way a bit.
Yeah.
We're kind of cut off, but the camera can see us. I don't know what the real... Maybe it's because I have this.
Yeah,
we're all on there. We're good.
Yeah.
Nice.
It's a good shot.
This is...
What was I saying? Yeah, we have
You're
special guests with us who you may recognize from another podcast.
Yes, please.
I think it's called Shop Talk Show. Was that correct?
No comment. How do I get out of here?
No, seriously. Yeah, do you guys want to introduce yourselves and tell the folks a little bit about what you do?
I am the sommelier of the show, opening this wine.
Yes.
That voice you just heard is Adam Stacoviak. My name is Jared Santo. We are co-hosts of the Changelog podcast, and we are open books that you can read with your ears by speaking
All
to
right.
us.
Oh, all right.
Oh, that should be your tagline.
See, hey, it's
Open
not
books
just
you
me,
can
it's
read
not
with
just
your
me.
ears.
It's got a nice
How
ring
many
to
devs
it.
Yeah.
does it take?
Are you guys okay over
I think
there?
they broke the cork.
We did.
It's broken.
All right, so our wine today is full of cork, but it is a Italian wine, I believe a Chianti Classico Reserva.
It is.
Ooh,
Yes.
Chianti.
From somewhere. I can't. Where's it from, Chuck?
We are not drinking that.
Yeah.
They can't get it off.
Today's episode is sponsored
State
by
bottle.
Corkscrews. Need one? We do.
And basic education.
I've got it.
Yeah, we'll get it.
Oh,
We'll
we
get
got it.
there.
Good,
Yeah, see,
good,
there
good.
you go. Once you get it threaded, all
You
right.
That's how the
just
show
push it
normally
through.
goes?
Well, it's a little more loosey-goosey for right now. But
Okay.
Wait. Tell me you're an avid listener, right? Of course. Yeah. Hey,
I've
how's
heard you
this
guys when you were on my show, JS Party. That was I definitely listened to that one.
yeah, I heard
That was
us there
good.
too.
I
shit?
thought you
That's
guys.
nice.
Yeah,
You guys were
I still
awesome.
think we should have won that.
I
What is
don't
that?
remember, but I'm pretty sure
It was the screen size one.
Chuck
About
ruined
like,
it, didn't he?
what are the
So-
common screen sizes
That was
people use?
that was a really bad question.
Yeah.
Turns out it was you have to say ranges because
Yeah.
Well, you know,
Yeah, it was a fun time though.
that was fun.
Yeah.
Travel.
Like with
What are you?
Yeah.
These guys are like having their own conversation over there. It's super awkward.
You guys know
Well,
we're
so-
recording right now, right?
Yeah,
Can
yeah.
we-
Oh, yeah.
You
we
guys
are
were
for
talking
real.
over us, so we just
You
went
were
ahead and had a
talking.
side conversation.
we were
Just
having
fill
like
in the
show.
time.
no side
Yeah.
chit chat.
Well, this episode is brought to you by Drinks.com. Drinks.com. If you're a wino
They have
on the road,
drinks.com. That is such a good.
Oh, and they owe me a bunch of
domain.
money now.
That is
So
drinks
it's,
domain.
.com.
it's a travel pourer that is like a pliable disc that you just kind of roll up and put it in your wine. And
I thought roll up was for like bundling JavaScript. Is that not it?
nerd
Not
jokes.
anymore.
Okay. Here. I'm just gonna pass them down. We're just gonna.
So
do
when
that.
you think
We'll
about
start
drinks.com, DRINKS, that is a 6-letter domain. That's probably hundreds of thousands of dollars. This is for you.
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you.
It made me think of X.com, which probably cost in the millions. But
A billion.
am I the only one that thinks that that's too short?
there. Yeah, I
Like,
think it's
Yeah.
it's lopsided. The X is just one letter, and then the .com is actually more substantial. I just feel like you shouldn't go less than 3.
yeah.
It has to be something you can search for. For
That's my hot
SEO, if
take.
you go X, it's
I
like,
know.
Well, maybe that works. I haven't tried to search
Like, you want to
X,
find their X account,
but
fine.
yeah,
If you want to find their double X account, also okay.
yeah, like
Good
find
legs.
me at
But you stop right there.
Q.com.
Good legs on
Like,
this wine.
Yeah.
ooh.
I haven't had
Okay,
any
so
yet.
we're having the
This line doesn't skip leg day?
Chianti Classico Reserva as it is DOCG, which means organic, but that is good in Italy and terrible in the
Yeah.
States. So
Yep.
just a heads up there. It's the 2018, so it's got some age to it. And there you go. Get to it. Little sniff. How is it on the nose?
Well, it's better in the mouth.
Okay, well, you start there. That's what she said.
It's that kind of show.
Oh
It is
yeah,
that
say
kind
whatever
of
you
show
want.
also.
Unedited, unfiltered.
Say whatever you want.
Uncancelable, by the way.
Yeah. You
Dot
can't-
com.
You can sue me for zero.
Can I say things I don't want?
Sure.
This wine. No, just kidding. Not bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, drinkable.
Sharp.
Serviceable. That's how I describe it. Serviceable. I'm not a big Chianti guy.
Yeah.
I am Italian, though, so that's kind of backwards. But,
What Italian wine do you like?
oh, no, I mean, I'm Italian, genetically. I'm not Italian.
Yeah, yeah,
like
but that
Italian
means you
wines,
have to
okay.
like some Italian things, right? Now you're
Well,
going to tell me you don't like
100%.
pizza, right?
Oh, I love pizza. I had
Okay,
some pizza
good.
last night. It's spectacular. How much does this wine cost? Is that, we can say whatever we want, right?
Yeah, we can say whatever we want. I don't know. What was this, like 30, 35 bucks?
30-ish.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think
Not
that's
zero, but not super fancy.
All right.
Do you get wine for $0?
No, but I mean,
Okay.
you could get a $5 or a $10.
If you guys
bottle.
get big
Yeah.
enough, you can get free
Yeah,
whiskey
yeah.
at least.
Yeah.
Yes, that
we
is
would
the
hope.
end
We're
goal.
shooting
Is
for
that the? There you go. There's your,
All right,
your
all
North
right.
Star.
We're way off track here.
Way off track.
So we're having
Reel it in.
alcohol. We've introduced the alcohol. We've tasted it, but we haven't talked about it.
What are the notes you're
Spoken to
getting?
Any tasting notes.
Mr. Charles William Carpenter.
Thank you. Okay, there we go. It's very dry, which is what I don't like about Chianti a lot of times. I don't mind a full body, which this does have, but its finish just makes me feel like I need a chunk.
I thought it was
of
Italian.
water. Italiano. Anyway.
That was a Finnish joke.
I got it.
All right. Sorry, Chuck.
Yeah. I'm glad we're doing your podcast next. Maybe not, because, man, I am going to that shit up.
Unlike yours, you can't say whatever you want on our show.
I know.
Yeah.
Yes. We will bleep you.
I apologize. I interrupted you, but
Yeah.
it was a good joke.
It's pertinent. No, it's all good. So very fruity in the start, very dry in the finish. Not a whole lot in between for me. It's all right. I mean, I'm sure it's a nice Chianti. I, like you, Jared, though, don't prefer them. So we have a highly technical rating here on the show. You guys may have forgotten from the last episode you listened to. 0 to 8 tentacles. 0 being terrible, obviously. 4, middle of the road. Would have again, but not amazing. 8, clear the shelves. This is for me. You can categorize however that you want with that. You can say to other wines, or alcohol in general, doesn't matter. Like I said, not too crazy there.
Mm-hmm.
For me, this, I don't love Chiantis. This is probably a little better than like your standard table Chianti though. So I'm going to give it a 5. Yeah. We can go down the line if you like.
I'll go next.
Yes.
I would say that the Chianti, almost said Conti,
Whoa.
which
whoa.
is so close to the other version that, can we say that on the show?
Well,
I mean, it is a marked adult. Yeah. How is it on the scale for you?
I would
Why?
say
Cancel now.
on the
Cancel now.
Chianti side,
Yes.
I'm not a Chianti kind of guy. I'm more of a red blend, a very simple wine drinker. I like blends a lot. I like Texas blends a lot.
Okay.
I like California blends a lot. I like a Malbec. You know, that's
Malbec.
my style.
Yeah. yeah.
You know,
Like a
it goes
lighter
well
red.
with steak. It goes well with solo by itself. It's generally not very expensive.
Yes,
So I would
yes.
say because of the reasons I don't really care for Chianti, this is dry. I would say it's low on my list. I would never buy this again or drink it.
Will you finish this cup? Is it good enough to finish?
Yeah, I'll drink it with you.
Yeah, we got to crush
It would be
this
rude
bottle.
not
but
to.
I'll drink it
outside
with
of
you, but
that-
I'm
it
not.
would be very rude.
I'm not excited to go out and get a bottle of this
Never buy
very
this.
fine Capria.
Caprea.
Capria.
Okay, all right. Yeah, that
Chianti
sounds right.
Classico Reserva. 2018.
Yeah. I'll
Thank
go
you for
with
sharing it, but it's not my favorite.
it. Yeah. Well, it's the first time I've had it too. So you take a roll of the dice when you go to the
Yeah.
Wegmans in Raleigh.
Did you give it tentacles?
Oh, 2 tentacles.
No.
Okay.
2.5.
He didn't spit it out, so there's that.
Yeah. I will echo Chuck in his analysis, and I will subtract 1 point. I will give 4 tentacles, but for the exact same reasons.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
The actual fan. Where are
Well,
you?
here's the
Oh,
thing.
he's a fan?
No, here's
he
the
bought
thing.
He
this.
likes Chianti. He chose
I
this
like
one.
a
Chianti.
selection.
I don't like the Classico Reserva.
Yeah.
That's supposed to be fancier. I like the normal Chianti. So I got the one that was supposed to be fancier, you know, to have better stuff. But yeah, it's not my favorite either. I'd give it more than a 2. I think 4 is pretty appropriate.
Yeah, maybe 4.5. Like, get
Yeah, I was
by.
being a
Oh, you
jerk.
can do halves?
Yeah, you absolutely can. Does that change anything for
I
you?
stand by my 4.
Where did you like? Did you say 4 also?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
4 seems
All right.
reasonable.
Can I interject maybe another role into your grading system?
Sure.
How much would you pay for it? Not what you paid for, but how much would you pay for it?
See, that's the problem too, because in Italy, this would be 10, 15 euro.
Oh, easily.
Like-
Yeah, wine is way cheaper.
And it's double or more here.
Okay.
So like the pricing is all inflated, but
yeah.
yeah,
If
I
I
think
paid
10 or 15
$15
euro is
I'd be fine
pretty
with this.
pretty good for
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
$15.
Yeah.
Yeah. What do you disagree with that assessment?
Well, he would say he would never buy it, so.
Yeah. Not
So I
even
would never
for-
buy it.
He's
Or
way
would
more
you
drink
pay?
it.
What would you pay?
$10.
$10.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that wouldn't be crazy, right, in Italy.
Yeah,
Jared,
yeah.
what part of Italy is your family from?
Sicily.
The boot.
Oh, way down. All right.
The island.
Yeah, and don't piss you off because you got people.
That's right.
Yeah,
That's right.
I've seen The
That's right.
Godfather. I know.
And they
what
have
all
Do not
recipes.
cross me.
Yeah.
Okay? I will make you an offer you cannot refuse.
because you'll be dead. So here we are.
Actually, it's growing on me now that I'm sipping it a bit.
Yeah.
Alcohol will do that.
It's smoothing.
wine
has that.
The more you have,
Well,
the
it's
better
smoothing
it
out.
is.
Like
Wait till the
you
next
get
glass.
past that dry part, it's smoothing out.
Yeah.
Maybe
Yeah.
it's airing it out.
It's
a little
gotten
bit.
a bit more tart in the center for me. You know, it was like sweet at first, like jammy sweet, and then starts to get a little more like sour in the middle for me. Anyway,
That's
Yeah.
deep.
We are
So-
drinking it out of the best glassware for this,
yeah.
so that helps.
This is Tupperware's finest.
Glassware is a stretch, isn't it?
Well,
Yeah,
they're
I
not
was-
red.
yeah, it's
I was like,
kidding.
we just
Plasticware.
can't get red. We can't get red cups. That's all. I was like, come on, we're classier than that. We're better than that. We deserve that.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a podcast over there too. There's a number of them. Here at
This is
All
Podcast
Things
Alley.
Open. Yeah, some here, some down there, some
awesome.
up there. It's kind of fun.
Yeah.
So the bit that takes me into what I think some of the things I thought it would be good for us to discuss
Okay,
here.
let's get into it.
Yeah, just to the
Let's do it.
and we're all creating content online, right? Doing kind of our thing
Correct.
in various areas, some more successfully than others. I don't think it's limited to podcasting because you have plenty of folks who do like live streaming. There's a lot of learning content out there. There are short form things. Do you think, and I'm going to ask this question of both of you so you can each take an answer at it,
Okay.
that inherently within development for the betterment of your career, figuring out how to create content, is that necessary to really stand out and gain a career within web development as a whole? Or I'll leave that open-ended, the second part.
Right. Good question. I don't think so. I think for a certain class of people, it makes a lot of sense. I think it can certainly accelerate a career. There are probably thousands, if not tens of thousands, of very, very successful software developers who do not do any content at all.
Yeah.
And I think they would
Yep.
raise their hand and say, not necessary, guys, because I'm doing it without doing that. However, it's a great avenue.
Yeah.
I agree. No.
Did
I think it depends on what the person is optimizing for. If they're trying to get to be like a famous developer or notoriety, then I think, yeah, you probably want to create some content. I think you're probably going to put yourself out there. You're going to be flashy. You're going to do things. You're going to be provocative potentially in your own way. And I think if you want to be that kind of well-known developer, that kind of successful developer, then I think you're probably going to create some content. But if you want to be a developer who is behind the scenes, necessary, maybe even COG-like, potentially, then I think that you don't need to worry about any content. You can just show up and do your thing and be a useful cog and be a great team member and deliver great software and care about customers. And that's all you got to do.
So, related, what do you think about open source? Is doing open source stuff helpful at all to a career, other than learning the skill? Like,
Yeah.
for the notoriety standpoint, is it helpful?
I certainly think it is. Obviously, you can have more or less success with open source. And yet, it's a great way to be able to point at something that you've done or built, which is not proprietary or needs permission from your previous employer. So there's a
Right.
lot of advantages even in just in that. And of course, there's opportunity to raise your clout in the community by having a successful project or participating in one. So I think it absolutely is. Where I thought you were going to go with that, maybe you're headed there, is that content creation. Is open source creating content? Because
Kind of.
kind of it is, but
Yeah.
it's also kind of not. So I don't know.
It kind of
Open
is.
question.
I think it's content.
Code.
The
Code
question
is
is being involved in or shipping open source or contributing. What was the question again, Robbie?
What was the question?
It was too far. It was too far back there.
Is open source, not from learning the skill perspective, but just like from my GitHub screen and like I'm trying to build my brand, is doing open source really helpful for that?
I think it goes back to my original answer with the other one, which is if you're trying to be more out there and more of a well-known person, famous or infamous, then I think having a flashy GitHub profile that shows off the things you care about is going to be very helpful. Whether it's for making friends, whether it's making new network connections that lead to job opportunities or a co-founder or whatever it might be, then yeah. But if you want to be a developer who's behind the scenes, not necessary. I mean, you may have a profile, but you may not care if it's fleshed out in terms of, hey, this is Adam Stacoviak and what he cares about. Go look at my GitHub profile. It's basically abandoned. I mean, like, I don't do a lot of open source besides our own contributions, and that's limited. So I did do a lot of stuff in open source, but I've not done a lot in terms of code contributions.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess maybe I'm not asking the question the exact right way here. So I have done a lot of open source stuff. I don't think it has helped my brand at all. Or like when I try to go get a job at a company, they're not like, oh, cool, I've seen you online, let's hire you. You're still the same interviews as everyone else. Like,
Right. So, okay, and I think all of this is kind of under the umbrella of building reputation.
Yeah.
There are all different ways to potentially build a reputation. And then, like you said, Adam, it's kind of optimizing for what kind of outcomes within that reputation you want. Like, I can come here and drink whiskey and talk shit, and that might gain me some popularity, but no one's going to know what I can do for them professionally unless they're hiring me to do that thing, right?
Yeah.
So you're building reputation in multiple avenues, and open source is another one of those potential things. But, you know, you got to optimize for the outcome that you want. Although I will say that, like, if you want to be a cog in the wheel, collect the paycheck that you're given, and stay quietly tucked in the corner, you can do that.
Yep.
But your options are limited because the scope of the reputation you're building is within now your current company. So then that comes to be, remember they used to try to force a lot of web developers to have portfolios? And it's like, what am I showing you with a portfolio necessarily? Like, that's just like, I could read a book and do the project in it and push that out. That doesn't necessarily show that same thing, but it's all about reputation and figuring it out how, for us as developers, how do we like showcase that without going through, 6 loops and a whiteboard? Like, what does that look like? Because an architect doesn't have to go prove themselves in an interview. They have a reputation because they went to the schooling and maybe, built these 3 buildings. So what is, I think I would almost take that and these initial questions back one step, and it's like, what clever ways do you think, or what ways do you think are necessary as folks who do want to just I want to supercharge my career and I'm really good at this thing I'm doing. How do I build reputation for that? And a lot of people are doing learning content to show it, but sometimes they show up to podcasts, but what else is it for us to prove we're good enough or get people to know us in a way that they want to work with us?
Great question. I think reputation in a lot of ways is in the eye of the beholder. And so to tie back to what Robbie said, we've talked with hundreds of open source developers over the years. And for every person who feels the way that you do, it hasn't meaningfully moved the needle for you, your reputation based on your open source has not preceded you into those situations. There's somebody else who, we've heard the stories over and over again, they can either directly or indirectly tie their current career, their current status to their open source project. So it's not a guarantee.
Right.
Yeah.
But it does work. It is a way to gain reputation if you're successful at using it in that way. How best to gain reputation, I think, is completely subjective and contextual, and I don't know if I can give a blanket answer.
Yeah.
But Adam might be able to. How do you do it, Adam? Tell us.
I never heard of him until today, so I don't think he's doing a good job.
Right.
I think
Have you seen his
that's
GitHub?
Oh, it's weak. His Bitbucket, though, is on fire.
Yeah, it was.
SourceForge.
Oh, yeah.
Gain reputation. I think you show up and you do what you said you could do, and you do it well, and you rinse and repeat, and that gets you reputation. I think that also there's a publicness to this world we're living in. In one way, shape, or form, there's a socialness and a transparency that's required to show off who you are and what you're capable of doing. I think, your analogy of the architect not being scrutinized, I'm paraphrasing, but
Yeah,
at the same time, that person contributed in some way, shape, or form to several buildings, using your example. So those buildings are their portfolio. In some way, shape, or form, you've got to show off what you say you're able to do and prove you can do that. Enough so to gain the trust to get the opportunity and then deliver. A reputation is formed by doing that again and again and again until you are popular enough that you have a reputation to precede you. What's up, friends? I'm here with a friend of mine, a good friend of mine, Michael Greenwich, CEO and founder of WorkOS. WorkOS is the all-in-one enterprise SSO and a whole lot more solution for everyone, from a brand new startup to a enterprise and all the AI apps in between. So, Michael, when is too early or too late to begin to think about being enterprise ready?
It's not just a single point in time where people make this transition. It occurs at many steps of the business. Enterprise single sign-on, like SAML, auth, you usually don't need that until you have users. You're not going to need that when you're getting started. And we call it an enterprise feature, but I think what you'll find is there's companies, when you sell to like a 50-person company, they might want this. They actually, especially if they care about security, they might want that capability in it. So it's more of like SMB features even, if they're tech forward. At WorkOS, we provide a ton of other stuff that we give away for free for people earlier in their life cycle. We just don't charge you for it. So that auth kit stuff I mentioned, that identity service, we give that away for free up to 1 million users, 1 million users. And this competes with Auth0 and other platforms that have much, much lower free plans. I'm talking like 10,000, 50,000, like we give you 1 million free because we really want to give developers the best tools and capabilities to build their products faster, and to go to market much, much faster. And where we charge people money for the service is on these enterprise things. If you end up being successful and grow and scale up market, that's where we monetize. And that's also when you're making money as a business. So we really like to align, our incentives across that. So we have people using AuthKit that are brand new apps, just getting started, companies in Y Combinator, side projects, hackathon things, things that are not necessarily commercial focused, but could be someday. They're kind of future-proofing their tech stack by using WorkOS. On the other side, we have companies much, much later that are really big who typically don't like us talking about them, their logos, because they're big customers. But they say, hey, we tried to build this stuff, or we have some existing technology, but we're sort of unhappy with it. The developer that built it maybe has left. I was talking last week with a company that does over $1 billion in revenue each year, and their SCIM connection, the user provisioning, was written last summer by an intern who's no longer obviously at the company, and the thing doesn't really work. And so they're looking for a solution for that. So there's a really wide spectrum. We'll serve companies that are in their office is in a coffee shop or their living room, all the way through they have their own building in downtown San Francisco or New York or something. And it's the same platform, same technology, same tools on both sides. The volume is obviously different. And sometimes the way we support them from a kind of customer support perspective is a little bit different. Their needs are different, but same technology, same platform, just like AWS, right? You can use AWS and pay them $10 a month. You can also pay them $10 million a month. Same product.
Or more,
yeah,
for sure.
Or more.
Well, no matter where you're at on your enterprise-ready journey, WorkOS has a solution for you. They're trusted by Perplexity, Copy.ai, Loom, Vercel, Indeed, and so many more. You can learn more and check them out at workos.com. That's WORKOS.com. Again, workos.com. And also by our friends over at Wix. I've got just 30 seconds to tell you about Wix Studio, the web platform for freelancers, agencies, and enterprises. So here are a few things you can do in 30 seconds or less on Studio. Number 1, integrate, extend, and write custom scripts in a VS Code-based IDE. 2, leverage zero setup dev, test, and production environments. 3, ship faster with an AI code assistant. And 4, work with Wix headless APIs on any tech stack. Wix Studio is for devs who build websites, sell apps, go headless, or manage clients. Well, my time is up, but the list keeps going on. Step into Wix Studio and see for yourself. Go to wix.com/studio. Once again, wix.com/studio.
Do you think our industry would benefit from like a national organization of certification rather than the subjectivity from company to company then? Like we all, lack of a better term, say there's a, national union of web developers or developers, programmers, whatever you want to call it. And the standards aren't just determined by Amazon and their processes and Oracle and their things and so on and so forth. Like independent organizations, do you think a centralized one would be a way to kind of solve that? Because I've proven it in the way we all agreed.
Possibly. Hesitantly, possibly. Very hesitantly, though. However, one of the things about our industry is it's so young. And while there are commonalities between different kinds of software, it's changing still at a very rapid pace. It's very difficult to certify and to stay certified in a way that's productive around something that moves that quickly. I don't see it slowing down anytime soon. I know there are efforts to come out with certifications. Those are all good. A national certification that we all agree to, I don't know. I get skeptical of those kind of efforts personally.
Yeah.
But
It's not very capitalist, I can say that.
No. I think what I like about our industry is that it's one of the few where you can just show up and do and be good at it and get a job. If you could produce a good outcome, you're hired. Whereas...
I disagree.
are you currently looking?
No, but
Okay.
How do you disagree?
interviewing is a completely separate skill from being a developer, in my opinion. And I am trash at interviewing, but I think I'm a pretty good developer.
Okay. What I mean, though, so his question is not about the interview. It is about the certification that says I'm good enough. And so I like the fact that I don't have to go out necessarily and get a computer science degree that says that's the gate, and therefore I have the pass, and so I get through the gate.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's where I'm coming from, is that if you can produce, if you can do, if you can learn by doing and show up and do it, you have access.
That's true. That's
it's
true.
not controlled by a certification or a degree or this or that. It's literally, you're curious enough in this young industry we have to show up and be curious and find a path and forge that path, make a network and do, and you're in. For the most part.
Right.
Yeah.
There is no true gatekeeper aside from opportunity and doing the job.
But the interview process does suck.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we're not going to disagree on that.
Yeah.
You know?
From like a working agreements perspective of like, you've shown you can do this job, not the interview aspect or everything else. I completely agree with Adam there.
Yeah.
Is that is a benefit of it, is that I'm not like kept out by, the equivalent of law school and residency for medical people and all this else. And
Or
obviously
renewals of certificate. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
you have to repass the bar exam or be current on X to be Y. We don't have that necessarily. There's some parts of our industry that may have versions of that.
Right.
But by and large, for the most part, if you can be a software engineer or a developer or a producer or whatever you want to frame that person as, you can do the job and you get the job and you get paid well for the most part.
Yeah. And you
Yeah.
also can use these tools to launch a business for a pretty low cost. I mean, it's got to be one of the cheapest small businesses that you could potentially...
It's software.
Yeah, it's software, and anybody potentially can do that. And I agree with that because in the sense that, like, the gatekeepers in comparison to the lawyer or doctor and all that other stuff, and obviously we're not saving lives, so, no humans are harmed by this, so of course we don't need those kind of gates per se. So it's a great counterpoint, I think, to that thing. But yeah, like Robbie and Jared alluded to, or just straight up said, now the interviews, which are separate from all of that to get all together, and where there are books and certifications to learn how to interview at Google or something like that, and I say that because we have with the badges.
The lanyard.
Yeah, the lanyard. That's the fancy word. So that is something else altogether, which is a little bit ridiculous. You can almost just separate them. I have to learn to interview to get past,
Oh, yeah.
and then I can just do my job well.
Yeah. The interview is nothing like
What happened
the
to
job.
the days of like,
Right.
you know, the guy in the hoodie who sits in the corner eating Funyuns, chugging Mountain Dew, but he's crushing it. But, you know, he's not leveling up his team around him. They've kind of been shifted out of, you know, the industry in a lot of ways.
Lone Wolf is really looked down upon.
Yeah. Like, that's an interesting thing to me because, like, to what you said, those are people who know it and can get the job done. But I don't want to go get a beer with them, so them.
Well, the job isn't merely writing the code, which is what the Lone Wolf thinks it is. And so there's more to the job than many of us want there to be.
Sure.
And because many of us are socially awkward and not skilled in that area, we'd rather talk to computers than talk to humans, right? Like that's,
Right.
I understand that sentiment. I've felt that way, even right now, currently. I might be feeling that way. But that's not anymore. Maybe it once was because you had one engineer in your entire business, right? Or one sysadmin who just ran the entire network. That's just not the reality of the job anymore.
Yeah.
And so that's why I think those people are marginalized, is because, they aren't fitting the entire bill.
Yeah.
But agree that the interview process just doesn't actually interview you for the job that you're going to do, which can be maddening, especially when it's difficult. Like right now, it's not easy to get that job.
Yeah.
When it was easier, you had to go through some rigmarole and some leak code and some other crap, but then you got the job at the end of it, so it's kind of like, okay.
Yeah.
Now
Yeah,
it's
the
like
leak code is some
8
bullshit.
rounds, and then they're like, thanks, we've chosen other candidates.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's harder
Or
right now.
fake jobs.
That's a thing. Yeah, fake jobs are a thing.
Fake
Tell me
you guys
more
know
about
that?
fake jobs.
It's
I know.
not Steve Jobs' brother.
Okay. This is, hi, my name's Steve. This is my brother, Fake.
On a recent episode of Change and Friends with Johnny Borsico,
Yes.
panelist on Go Time, he shared his insights to fake jobs. And I think paraphrasing versions of what he said was essentially there's companies out there that act as if they're hiring because it helps them with their bottom line in terms of investors. It looks good. So
Yes.
they have
Yeah.
these jobs out there that are not being filled. They may even have headhunters out there collecting resumes and keeping, in quotes, keeping
Right.
these resumes and these people warm, but still looking for the perfect ideal candidate. Meanwhile, they've got 15 possible really good candidates that they're not hiring.
Yeah.
So that totally sucks.
Which is a side effect of VCs
Inflating,
using
yeah.
hiring as a health metric. So
Oh,
VCs
yeah.
began using that, which kind of makes some sense, right? Like, well, if they're hiring, they must be growing.
Companies growing. And
Yeah,
give
so
them
the
money.
VCs are looking for a way to judge.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
then, however, whose law is this? Goodhart, perhaps?
Good heart, yeah.
This is the one where any measure that becomes known ceases to be a good measure. And so companies realize, well, we're going to look better to VCs if we're hiring. And so we can't actually hire. Or maybe we have one position, but we'll put out 8.
Right.
Yeah.
And we'll just be very picky.
And we'll just get thousands of
And meanwhile,
applicants
all
and
of us
fuck
are
with
out
people.
there
Yeah.
applying like plebs, and their jobs aren't even real.
Yeah, that's annoying.
Wasting our time.
Yeah, 3
Yeah.
months later, you get we've reviewed your resume and decided you're not a good fit for this one. And really, they probably did.
Why would you get anything back? That's more than you
Sometimes
usually
not,
get.
but yeah, sometimes
That's actually kind of kind.
Yeah. Oh, thanks for letting me know. I can cross this one
Yeah.
off my list.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, then you get into the position where you're like, we should regulate this then. Just like your certification
Yeah.
question. We should regulate this. We should make sure these jobs are real before they can post a job. That is not a world I want to live in either. Like over-regulation is not conducive to a free-moving market, right?
Yeah.
So the alternative is just to suck it up, I guess, or like just call foul heavily when we find out true examples of fake jobs, not Steve Jobs.
No, Fake was a genius. But so call them out, like say publicly you discovered this. Like fuck LinkedIn, they've got 8 job postings and I know someone on the inside. Turns out they're all lies. Don't bother applying there in that kind of way, like shaming there because they care about image and perception.
I don't want to be a cancel culture pile-on kind of guy,
Yeah.
but I feel like if it's egregious
Yes.
and it's like maybe even multiple offenses, we wouldn't do it. I would say Jared and I would probably just walk away and just be like, whatever.
Yeah.
I think somebody I've seen do this semi-well and respectfully is Gergely Orosz. He's called out several companies for various hiring practices, various things, even the whole WP Engine, WordPress situation in Mulloweg, and I think he does a pretty fair job of holding people to a line.
Yeah.
It's not my demeanor. I don't think it's Jared's demeanor. We've had a couple examples in our lives when we've been marginalized by a very large company who we would say were part of the community. We were told we're not welcomed. And we didn't say anything. We just walked away. We turned the other cheek.
Until now.
Yes, of course, Juicy. Listen, our 3 or 4 listeners would love to know right now.
Shout out to George, Paul, and Fake. Those are your 3 listeners, right?
Yeah. Fake Jobs is a
Fake
big fan.
Jobs is definitely-
He's worked on Pear AI, I think.
Yeah, it's just a fork of Steve. Anyway, forks. Nerd fights and fork culture is a very interesting thing lately, too.
It is. It is.
You bring up WP Engine and all that, but I'm sorry if you were going to go with...
Well, I just don't want to be for the cancel culture necessarily.
Yeah.
I don't think it's necessarily helpful to ad nauseum just cancel something, or ad nauseum, not ad nauseum. I don't think. Thank you. I knew in your brain, Jared. You were like, it's ad nauseum, Adam.
We've worked together long enough. I just let it go.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, he'll stop. He'll catch himself.
Ad symbol.
He'll make it a big talking point, which just happened. Ad nauseum.
Ad nauseum. I don't necessarily subscribe to cancel culture. I don't want to be canceled. I don't want to cancel somebody. I believe in forgiveness. I think people make mistakes.
Yeah, I agree with that.
You know,
Sure.
and I want to see redemption because I'm a believer, a firm believer in redemption.
Well, I think there's a big difference between cancer culture of individuals.
Oh,
cancer
that was a
culture.
Freudian slip. Cancer
Yeah.
culture.
Did
Was
I
that on
say
purpose?
cancer?
You did
I
say
don't know.
You did.
Yeah, I just, okay.
I like it.
Cancer culture.
Cancer culture.
Cancer is culture.
Is there
culture
more of
that
this-
has cancer? Yeah.
Is there more of this
Go.
2.5 wine?
No, just whatever. Roll with it. You'll be fine.
Is there more of this?
Yeah.
He really likes
he
it.
really
said,
likes
notice it's
Chianti.
2.5
He's
now.
into Chianti.
Anybody?
Into Chianti.
Anybody?
No, we all think you
Okay,
should
so
drink that.
do you think there's probably a
Let me get you a
different?
little?
Sure, I guess. Yeah. Jared does not like this one, by the way.
I'll give you a... Oh,
yeah,
that's
a
it.
smidge.
That's
yeah,
it.
it's just polite.
Just a
It's
smidge.
okay. Just for a
Cancer
sec.
culture.
Just the tip. Just for a second. So we're talking about cancel. Now you've put it in there. Cancel culture.
You
Now I
really
gotta
put
say
it
it
in
3
there.
times.
Just take one breath real quick and then start again.
For individuals versus companies is my thought there, and it's like as a
Sure.
company collectively making these moves, and not just one individual that gets canceled. I think there's a lot more leeway for individuals who do so, who
Yeah.
are just humans, have a feeling, a lack of understanding, make a mistake in the moment, become emotional. Companies, especially the larger the company gets, they're planning this. Either an HR is planning, somebody has made a plan and a group agreement to start to go
a room
and
full
lie
of people
in a way. Yes.
decided this is okay.
Yeah, right? Like, there's some C-levels that know about this, or some HR people that know about this. Or there's people who know and are making that conscious choice. So I tend to be more forgiving of the individual and mistakes in that way, unless you're like some people who just lean hard. Oh, I made a mistake. I'm going to keep going. You know,
Who do you know like that?
I'm not friends with them, but
name and
they'll
shame?
say that. Yeah, I mean, you mentioned the WP Engine WordPress drama. That is a lean hard and keep going. I am right fighting my position, and I will not listen to the masses. And if you are canceling me, I have a large bank account. I don't give a maybe. I don't know. I haven't talked to him. I have no idea. He does seem to think that he is right.
He does.
And he's driving that company forward. So that is a singular individual set of opinions. But if like LinkedIn was putting up 50 job postings for a job they didn't have, and I learned the truth of that, I might be like, F them, you know? So,
Contextually, there's a version of standing up, and there's a version of canceling. And I think in the case of like a Matt situation, I'm not subscribing to the idea, while I disagree with several of his moves, I'm not trying to cancel Matt.
no.
If LinkedIn knowingly allowed in some way, shape, or form their platform to promote or allow for legitimately fake, is that even a thing? Legitimately fake jobs.
Real fake jobs.
Real
Yes.
fake jobs.
.com.
then that's not cool at all. And I say call foul.
Yes. Agreed.
But if you're a small company and you're like, maybe you're between rounds.
And you're getting ready, and you want a pipeline for
And,
once
like,
the trigger is ready.
Yeah.
Well, it
Because
sounds like it's mostly startups that are doing this.
Yeah.
Right?
Okay.
Because there are situations for founders and leaders that they get into some situations where they've got risk on the line. And I don't think it's necessarily okay to be like, well, let me just promote this fake job and like tantalize Jared for a while and let him dangle. But
Yeah.
I can kind of, to some degree, empathize because, wow, leading is so hard. Running a company is so hard. Does it mean you should be disingenuous? No.
Yeah.
But am I going to be personally, as Adam from Changelog, going to call them out? If it was on a podcast, yeah. If it was like in the
Only
moment, I'm
on a
like, that sounds-
podcast would I do that.
Right. Am I in the places where I'm known to share my opinions? I would share those opinions. Am I going to go out of my way to write a blog post about X, Y, and Z doing X? No.
Nah, probably
Because
not,
that's
but-
not my medium. But if they were on a podcast with us, I'm like, it sounds like that job's fake. And I got
Right.
friends who applied. Then I'd be like, that doesn't sound legitimate. Is that real? I would totally ask them that.
Yeah.
Am I going to be like cancel culturing them and mobbing them? Nah.
Yeah,
It's just not my style.
Yeah,
so
that's fair.
cancel
Just
culture, though, starts to become like a larger and larger blanket
It's
of
mob.
where it's coming
Yeah,
from,
it's very
right?
mob.
Like, yeah, but the cancel culture is about changing perceptions within the culture of folks that feel like they've been marginalized or worse. And
a
in
certain
this
group
sense,
of people feel like they shouldn't be involved anymore,
right?
and so therefore everyone should feel like they shouldn't be involved.
Yeah,
anymore.
and it's like,
Yes.
no opinion
It's like-
is supporting the thing and all of that is a little egregious in my
and you're
opinion.
canceled if you don't agree with the canceling.
But we talk about a startup, and you feel, it's nice if you have a little sympathy for a startup CEO that has taken maybe a few $1 million or so, and they've made these decisions to try and like give them some last gasp efforts and perception of success, or just even plateauing and maintaining the status quo. I would say being a leader is hard. Being a leader with integrity is even harder then, because that to me shows a lack of integrity.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't even want to be there.
As I was saying, that's why I was backpedaling. So I don't want to be a lack of integrity kind of person, but I can at least empathize with somebody who is struggling to hold the line, because there is a phrase called "by any means necessary."
That's true.
And to some degree, by any means necessary is sometimes a bending or a curving of the integrity. Not something I personally subscribe to, but I can at least empathize with somebody who feels compelled to do so to survive.
You know, and the interesting aspect of that is you would see like that particular founder, if this story comes up 5-10 years later and they were unicorns and blew up, and you would say, like you said, by all means necessary, and boy, was he really willing to just buckle down and do anything to make it work. And they did, and that story is very different than the one of, well, they ended up drowning anyway and over a bunch of people.
This makes me think of a very good TV show,
Go ahead.
Yeah, what is it?
Silicon Valley.
I thought you might say that, but I was like, it sounds like the obvious answer.
Silicon
so I'm gonna
Valley.
wait. I'm gonna let you have
Richard
it.
Hendricks' character arc struggled the entire show with integrity.
Yeah.
There were times where he buckled his integrity.
What's happening? Hey, it's Max.
Hey, man.
Yes.
The podcast and Max.
Max, you want a T-shirt? Have you ever heard of the show? No, I'm just kidding.
Did you guys have Max on yesterday? Or?
No, we didn't.
No,
He
we were
ghosted us.
Pause.
Oh!
Yeah. Yes. Good to see you. We are live right now. Do you want to say hi to the folks at home?
Put your face in the camera real quick.
Yeah.
This is
Max.
Camera's
Right
right
there.
there.
This is Max.
That's Max.
Max Howell,
Yes.
creator of Homebrew and now T.XYZ.
That's right. And also, body double for Russell Crowe. Most people didn't know that. Yeah. There's some sort of familial connection there.
Are you
So-
not entertained?
Ah.
Yeah, if you want to hang out or come by in a little bit again. Yeah. No, you're
No worries. No worries.
Okay, so
What were we saying?
back to Silicon Valley.
We were canceling Silicon Valley.
Back to Richard
You
Hendricks.
canceled Silicon Valley. Come on. It's got to come back.
Well,
This is
Yeah,
what he
technically it was
it's
canceled.
ended.
Or no, I guess it ended.
It's
Yeah.
ended.
This is
Well-
what Adam's referring to when he talks about cancel culture.
Yes.
It's his show.
It's a show.
They canceled it.
No, they ended it. It wasn't
Yeah.
canceled.
Yeah, it just
it ended.
It had a nice
it was great.
natural finish.
Sorry, that was
That's what
a
she
dream
said.
of mine.
It was not. It's not true. It's just not true.
Just a dream.
So Richard Hendricks struggled the entire time. It's the entire story arc of the whole show, if you haven't watched it before. And there were a couple times he even referenced Abe Lincoln in Habeas Corpus, a very particular episode where they were planting pie holes or something like that in the HuliCon conference so that they can gain users. And that was a by any means necessary thing.
Yeah.
And it's wild. Like, you watch that show. So, I mean, like, that stuff happens. I'm not sure if it happens that dramatically in the world.
Right.
That was so cool.
Yeah.
They ended up getting a lot of users. Phones caught on fire and blew up. They ended up getting all these users. And then ultimately, other things happened, which led to the story arc of Pied Piper. But you see that. You see these folks struggle with integrity. And I think that show is a great example of playing out someone who really desires to be towing that line of integrity. And you see him struggle. You see it in the character. And you ultimately see it in the story arc of the entire show and the product, Pied Piper, and the team. That's an example of the struggle. And I think
Yeah.
it's satire, obviously, but it's very real as well.
Yeah, it's
I
not
think it-
such a stretch from reality.
Yeah.
I think it applies the most on like the extreme ends of the spectrum. Like they're a startup. They had to do some things to not in existence anymore. Then the other side of things, you're like huge FANG companies. Phenomena companies.
Phenomena, yeah.
That's
What?
the new FANG. It's
Phenomena.
Phenomena.
No, stop.
Just put you can't move on until we can put a pin in it,
Stop.
Jared. If you don't, okay.
What's this phenomenon thing?
Meta, Apple, Netflix,
Wasn't
Amazon,
that Elijah?
Nvidia. I don't know. I'm probably not getting them all right.
We're working on our
Microsoft?
last.
Yeah, Microsoft.
Okay.
Yeah,
Microsoft's the first one.
Oh, okay.
Because we think Microsoft should have always been included in FANG. But anyway.
They probably wanted it in there and they weren't. They're like, what's wrong with these guys? All right, keep
Yeah,
going.
what was I saying before? Oh, yeah. So those big companies, they're like, you're in a board meeting. And they're like, okay, if we do this to over everyone, we make $500 million. That's a hard, like, yeah, no, we can't. We got to be
We've got
nice.
integrity.
Like,
We
you know,
can't do that.
I've never been in that level of a conversation.
Right.
So I can't, like, speak to that. But I think there's probably a lot of that
Well,
at
they
that
also
end.
never say it that way. Nobody ever says
they
it. If we
wouldn't
make
say it
this
like that.
strategic pivot, it may harm the current environment for certain users, but we will gain these other users and give them this tangential benefit and profit. You need another yacht? I need another yacht.
I could use my first
I think
yacht.
This is a good start. Yeah. Yeah. So I don't know.
I lost my yacht.
Yeah.
It just, I went on shore, we ported,
Yeah.
and I was like, where's my yacht?
Yeah, you had
So I
too
just, like,
much
bought another
Chianti.
one. I was like,
yeah.
forget it.
Yeah, you're like, I don't know. That one ran out of gas.
Just forget it.
Yeah. Every time you buy a new one, the
The
tank's full.
captain and all.
Yeah.
Bye. Got a whole new captain.
So integrity and certifications and, you know, this is a whole thing about, it's funny, individuals, we were speaking first about individuals building reputation versus a company reputation. And we don't actually have the same, like, moral agreements from the humans to the group of humans who are a company, though. I will say that, because the morality kind of strips away the more growth and success you get, because you're perceived differently. You did what you had to do to get there. Now, if you fall down and go burning, they're like, oh yeah, that guy was a jerk. But if it goes the other direction, it often feels perceived the other way.
Yeah.
So the ends do justify the means.
Yeah, I mean,
It
to a
depends.
degree,
Everything
you've seen that
depends.
show. Yeah, you've seen that show Succession, right? That's not based
No.
in any kind of morality, even within their.
I haven't seen it. Can you
That
tell
is
us what
such
it's about?
a phenomenal yet very, very disgusting show.
Absolutely.
Was it canceled?
No,
No.
it ended
was,
very well.
actually.
It
Ended.
went on. Probably a
maybe
season
they
too
wrapped it
long.
up, but it was canceled.
Was it?
Yeah.
It wasn't
It
canceled.
wasn't canceled. No, it wasn't.
No, it
way.
ended.
I call that.
Well,
it
yes,
ended. It
they
had a
wrapped it up,
natural
but it
conclusion.
canceled. I read that it was canceled. Maybe I'm wrong.
I think
Maybe
you're
I'm
wrong.
canceled.
I think you're canceled.
No way, man.
For saying that,
No
HBO
way.
will never sponsor
Brian
us.
Cox
That's true.
is
Don't
probably
you mean
one of
Max?
his best roles ever.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Stellar acting all around, gripping, and obscene richness.
Yeah, I mean it's an incredible showcase and statement about what actually you rich is. And that family was rich.
They were so FU rich, they were FU rich against themselves.
Yeah, for real. That's how
I mean,
rich.
there was no line that would not be crossed.
Yeah. Agreed. It's a great show. So whether Robbie thinks it was canceled or not, great show.
Did they
Highly
murder their
recommended.
father to take the throne?
No.
They tried.
They certainly
They tried
weren't
versions
against
of
it.
murder.
Yeah.
Business murder, yes.
Yeah.
Because that goes back to Gladiator. You know, he hugs his dad,
Yeah.
Caesar. He just hugs him to death. You know that?
Yeah.
Joaquin Phoenix. Remember Gladiator?
Yeah. I remember.
Remember it? He realizes. So I just watched this recently. That's why I have it down pat.
Yeah. Go.
We
So
talked about this, yeah.
Marcus Aurelius is old. He's dying. He's going to name Russell Crowe as the next Caesar. Maximus, whatever.
Maximus Aurelius.
Yeah, whatever his name is, Maximus. And Joaquin Phoenix, who is the heir to the throne, goes into his dad's tent, and his dad tells him, "You will not be Caesar." And he's like, "All I ever wanted to do is have you be proud of me, Dad." Like that kind of a
Yeah, I
thing.
remember.
And he's like, "My son," and then they get close, and he hugs him, and he straight strangles him to death, and takes the throne.
Yeah.
That's succession right there.
That's some
Yeah.
succession.
Speaking of things that strangle you to death, how do you feel about TypeScript?
Well, I stay as far away as I can. Just like Marcus Aurelius should have stayed away from his son.
Yeah.
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 Always have a buddy.
Just making
Yeah.
That's good. No, that's a good pivot into the web. You brought
Somebody
the web
has
back into the
something-
too much
Yes.
whatnot on this
Yeah,
episode.
we've got a lot of whatnot.
A lot of
but-
whatnot.
Okay, friends, I'm here with a new friend of ours over at Timescale, Avthar Suwathan. So, Avthar, help me understand what exactly is Timescale?
So Timescale is a Postgres company. We build tools in the cloud and in the open source ecosystem that allow developers to do more with Postgres. So using it for things like time series analytics, and more recently, AI applications like RAG and search and agents.
Okay, if our listeners were trying to get started with Postgres, Timescale, AI application development, what would you tell them? What's a good roadmap?
If you're a developer out there, you're either getting tasked with building an AI application, or you're interested and you're seeing all the innovation going on in the space and want to get involved yourself. And the good news is that any developer today can become an AI engineer using tools that they already know and love. And so the work that we've been doing at Timescale with the PG AI project is allowing developers to build AI applications with the tools and with the database that they already know, and that being Postgres. What this means is that you can actually level up your career, you can build new interesting projects, you can add more skills without learning a whole new set of technologies. And the best part is it's all open source. Both PG AI and PG Vector Scale are open source. You can go and spin it up on your local machine via Docker, follow one of the tutorials on the Timescale blog, build these cutting edge applications like RAG and such without having to learn 10 different new technologies, and just using Postgres and the SQL query language that you'll probably already know and are familiar with. So yeah, that's it. Get started today. It's a PG AI project, and just go to any of the Timescale GitHub repos, either the PG AI one or the PG Vector Scale one, and follow one of the tutorials to get started with becoming an AI engineer just using Postgres.
Okay, just use Postgres, and just use Postgres to get started with AI development, build RAG, search, AI agents, and it's all open source. Go to timescale.com/AI, play with PG AI, play with PG Vector Scale, all locally on your desktop. It's open source. Once again, timescale.com/AI. Who is upset about the state of front end? I mean, like, basically just utterly disgusted with it.
Right. How basically
Thoroughly.
to prove some point, all business logic and API, all of that stuff has come somehow into the front end. I think
SQL in the front end is great.
I can't remember if it's Ken C. Dodds who was saying this, but I don't know. Somebody was saying, like, we have a ton of folks who know React really well, subject matter experts. So rather than reskill them across the stack, how about we just figure out a way to learn once, write everywhere?
Yeah, no.
And I think that speaks to this state of
It's going to be a hard
front-end
pass for me.
engineering. Yeah.
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 No, I mean, I like Kent, but I don't like that
Well,
idea at all.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
there's something to be said for I want to learn how to do things, maybe not applied to front end, back end, database, everything, but like for building a front end, I should be able to write it the same way forever, and you just compile it to do whatever new you want behind
Yeah.
the scenes.
I got a real problem with that particular attitude, which is extant in our industry, which is like, I'm only going to learn one thing, okay?
Right.
And you guys just work around my lack of knowledge for the rest of my career, Like, how about no? That's my stance.
Yeah.
How about no?
How about no?
No.
Yeah.
We're not
No
going to do
is
that.
an option. It's not on the list. You may check yes or no. Or maybe it depends.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This one doesn't even depend. I
Yeah.
just think that's a terrible idea.
It is a terrible idea.
It's so myopic.
So what about Rails?
What do you guys think?
Well,
Right?
Rails?
yeah,
do you
what about
think?
Rails resurgence?
Yeah, no, I think
that's
I was
there's a
thinking about
line.
that too.
Hold on,
Yeah,
they're on.
I won't talk
They
over
switched
Let's
topics.
have them. They'll talk that over there.
No, we can't talk about two things.
We're trumping your topic.
Yeah,
go
we're
ahead.
moving on.
Please go ahead.
I was
Go
about to
ahead.
get a response to my.
Go ahead. Get a
That was a
response.
pretty hot
Get a
take, wasn't
response.
it?
Get a
What's your
response.
response?
Yes.
No,
Go
I
for
was
it.
just going to say, I think there's a line. I think some of it should work, but I think SQL in the front end, not a good thing.
That's the line.
Yeah, well,
Just skip the ORM.
I think we don't need half the we have to begin with.
Agreed.
Because Astro is the best way to write apps. Use HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. You don't need React and all the everywhere.
Agreed.
Just like write with web standards, use good accessibility, do all the stuff, and then if you need some kind of more intense back end or database, use the technologies that already exist for that. Rails is great. Like use MySQL or Postgres or whatever, like directly. You don't need.
You don't like
this-
ORMs? Is that what you're saying?
It depends.
It depends. I like the sugar of ORMs. I mean, Django and Rails had ORMs. That's
I like
why
a
they're
good
true.
ORM.
Yeah, they're true web frameworks because they
Yeah.
give you f***ing login. If you don't give me login, don't tell me Next.js is a full web framework. It's not. I got to have 45 other SaaS things that Triangle Company has invested in order to make a full web framework in that context. So
Talk about the dependencies of SaaSes on a startup. You've got authentication, login, various things like that you have to subscribe to deliver your application. It's like, nah, man.
Yeah, we
Come on.
replaced opinionated frameworks that
Because
had all
they're
that
too-
with a bunch of other services that you still don't write yourself.
Which I think is why Rails is having a moment again.
I
Yeah.
Because
think
we're
so
like,
too.
hey guys, remember this? This was better before we went way over here.
It's
And
better.
It's back. It's better again.
Sorry.
I don't know. I personally never left the old way because I'm a stodgy curmudgeon.
Yeah.
And so I've just been waiting. I've just been doing it.
And here it is. You're about to
You
have your
described
moment
my
with
stack
this
right over
Shrine.
there. You're like HTML, CSS, and I'm like, yeah.
Well, the sad part is,
first
though,
class citizens.
is
Yeah.
we are almost 10 years deep into a platform that was not written in Rails.
And
Which I have remorse over, but Jared does
into
not.
a
And I get
platform
it.
that has all the same ideals that Rails has, so it's fine.
I get it.
We use Elixir and Phoenix.
Okay. So that is
reasonable.
also continuing
It's-
to like evolve and be great. And
Totally.
that is like kind of timeless software.
I agree. Well, I picked it 8 years ago, and I'm still happy with it, which you can't say that about too many things.
Right?
Yeah,
Right?
Yeah.
That's true.
For sure.
That being said, Rails is cool, and if I was starting from fresh again, because I used to do Rails before that, and I would definitely pick it back up again,
Yeah.
because Ruby is a great language.
And DHH is nice now, and it's making friends online. He convinced me to buy a framework laptop. So
Oh, how
you
is that?
It's pretty dope. I just haven't been able to spend enough time to like make it my regular driver.
Right.
But it's that and the Omakube is really cool.
Yeah, that does sound cool.
Yeah. So I like being able to upgrade it if I want. And even when my Apple Care wears out, I can get it fixed. So
How much did that cost?
I ended up buying one on sale, so it was under $1,000.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's usually, actually, you can get a nicely put together one for about $1,000, 800 to 1,000, I'd say.
Okay.
I'm about to get a new laptop, and I am so deeply in the Apple ecosystem.
Yeah,
that
same.
I'm afraid to like peek out and
Yeah.
see because the cocoon is so warm and snuggly.
It is.
Yeah,
You're not
I
wrong.
agree.
You're
They eat
absolutely
sleep.
not wrong.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but I am curious.
You're a little curious.
I
You
am.
wanna dip out
I
a little
am.
bit.
I
Yeah,
think the
that's good.
workaround is you have like a rack mount Mac that you can have like iMessage your Linux so you can still message people and shit. Like,
Yeah, maybe.
That does sound like a workaround.
But I mean, it's a funny thing because you can buy a MacBook Air and a Frame Linux laptop and still spend less than you would on a MacBook Pro, like real, like high level one.
Yeah.
So it's crazy that that's the case, but absolutely is.
Yeah.
So there's that.
Yeah.
I don't know. DHH was able to make it run his Apple XDR display even too.
No, he said it never worked. I
It worked.
thought.
No, he told
Did
me
he?
it worked.
Oh,
I just didn't
okay.
get the one level up that he did that made that work. But it would be a $200 upgrade for me to do that if I was like, I'm in, and then make
gotcha.
that work too. So hard to say, but I say it's worth trying, especially at the price points. Anyway,
Yeah.
this
All right, we're-
episode is brought to you by Framework Laptops. I'm just trying to find people I can build.
Yeah. This episode is sponsored by Casey Masterpiece Barbecue Sauce.
Oh.
I don't know.
Is it legal to say you're sponsored when you're not sponsored?
We do it anyway.
Is
I
there
think-
rules to this?
I think
Holy
there's-
hold on, we've been doing this for
I think
like,
there's an FCC regulation against that.
do you have to does the FCC cover things on the Apple podcast
They won't let me
store
be.
and things like that?
That's what I
Or
was
let
thinking.
Let me
me.
be me, so let me see.
That's exactly what I was thinking. I was like, do I say it or do I not say it?
You should
And I'm
have.
like, they won't get it. But I underestimated
Me
you,
too.
Robbie. I underestimated you a lot.
Well, Eminem.
Yes.
It
By
is the
way,
goat. He is
yeah.
the goat,
Yes.
apparently.
He's 51 now, so
So that makes me feel old.
Yeah.
yeah, preaching to the choir here.
How do you guys normally end these shows?
We're done. Bye.
Yeah, no,
Get out.
we do try to ask at the end,
Oh, yeah.
Is there anything
what
you
would
want
you guys do
Oh,
if
yeah,
you weren't
let's-
in tech?
Oh.
Like, you don't have to possess this skill. If you just think this is cool and I wish I could do it, you can choose that too.
Yeah.
I would probably be the emperor of the Roman Empire.
Oh, so
How
time
often do you
travel
think
and
about the
that.
Roman
Yeah,
Empire?
exactly.
Just watch Gladiator the other night.
Yeah, you're like, that seems like a good
This seems
job.
pretty sweet. I like how you can just do this or this.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
everyone just does what you say.
Yeah.
That's what my son does.
yeah.
Yeah. What about
Daddy's
you, Adam?
cooking.
What would I do if I wasn't in tech? So many things. Am I retired?
You can be.
Whatever you want. This is a scenario. I mean, Jared was able to time travel back to the Roman Empire.
Well, the Roman
Technically, I
Empire's
brought it
coming
to
back.
us. Yeah. Technically, I brought it to the future, so, but
Yeah.
that's a nitpick.
Yeah, that's fair.
If I'm retired, I would probably get into garden. I'd probably pickle my own pickles. I'd probably make guacamole every single day. I'd probably have my own avocado tree. I would probably have my own jalapeno tree and a
absolutely.
serrano tree or plant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know,
Like
that's how
a bush.
unschooled I am on this process of gardening.
Well, you haven't started.
I would first principles, not because I'm a weirdo, but because I really want to eat good food. And there's something magical that happens when you eat really good food. And I'm not talking like pizza good food,
Yeah.
but like fresh vegetables, fresh spices, make your own yogurt kind of situation, make your own sauces. There's something that changes with your food whenever you've done that, and you kind of don't want to eat out anymore.
Yeah.
Unless it's like your favorite restaurant and you're like, nah, not today. You know? That's kind of where we're at. I make a phenomenal burger.
All right. Is it
Phenomenal.
better than
Jason
Jason
Langsdorff,
and
yeah.
Sarah's burgers?
The only
Yeah.
thing stopping me from going layers and layers deeper is that I don't have time to grind my own meat.
Oh, right.
I don't got that.
But if you had time,
If I was not in tech and I was retired, I would be grinding my own meat. I would be sirloin with ribeye and, you know, all
yeah,
the stuff.
Definitely.
Make
All
my own ground meat.
Cool, cool.
I'd make my own bun.
Yes.
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 Seriously.
Yes. That guy in LA on the burger show who has the butcher shop, he's like a chef and he has his own butcher shop. And then he gets like a bakery out in town to do his potato rolls for his burgers. They're amazing.
I'd fly my own plane to Colombia to get my beans myself from Raul, who's a
fresh-
longtime friend,
fresh bags.
and I'm now a supporter of his farm. We have a co-op. We would shake hands, maybe kiss a cheek, and I'd come back with some fresh beans and I'd grind them that day,
Yeah.
and I'd make some good coffee.
Nice.
Nice.
That's what I would do if I wasn't in tech.
You could be my chef in the Roman Empire.
You could be my chef. My
I would direct the directors.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah. And then, if you guys have anything you want to plug or mention that we didn't get to.
I'll say
before
we have
end.
a show coming out with DHH this week. So it's Tuesday. It should come out tomorrow. It's probably going to come out Thursday.
When's this going to come out?
Not for a while.
Okay.
2 to 4 weeks.
It's
You'll
in the
have heard it
past.
already.
Yeah, it's out
It's
there.
in the past. Look at
Yeah.
our feed.
You probably already listened to it.
Changelog.fm. And look for something that says it's a Rails world.
Nice.
It might not be called that.
It'll probably say Rails
It'll
or
say-
DHH.
We're still
somewhere.
working on it. Yeah.
I think I'm
Yes.
still down with that title. I don't care.
All right.
Awesome.
All right, cool.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Cheers, y'all.
Ciao.
Cheers.
Ciao.
All right, that is our first show from the All Things Open hallway track, but it won't be our last. We had great conversations with Max Howell, Chad Whitaker from Sentry, Alex Kretschmar from Tailscale, and many more. Those are coming soon. Thanks again to Chuck and Robbie for hosting us on their podcast and for sharing a bottle of Chianti with us. Wine always tastes better when it's paired with good conversation. So I'm going to go ahead and revise my 4 tentacle rating. Let's go 4.5. Boom. Thanks again to our amazing sponsors, Fly.io, WorkOS, Wix Studio, and Timescale. Please support them. They support us. And of course, thank you to our beat freak, Breakmaster Cylinder. We couldn't bump the best beats in the biz without you, BMC.
I just like anything that makes me happy, and I do that, and then I do the next thing. You're welcome.
Next week on the Changelog. News on Monday, more awesome ATO interviews on Wednesday, and on Friday, we're working on an awesome Local First It Depends episode, but I'm not sure if it'll come together by then, so stay tuned. Stay tuned. Have a great weekend. Tell your friends about the Changelog over a glass of wine, and let's talk again real soon.